Hey everybody, as I promised, these are the books that I got signed at Garden State that are Marvel. And like I said to you in the previous video, normally when I go to after cons, usually it's like DC's this many books and Marvel's like this many books. Well, this time it's different. Even. Pretty much the even amount of DC to Marvel. So let's start this off. Had Ron Wilson sign this years ago at a previous con. Had Chris Ivy sign it yesterday or Saturday. Had him sign this one. This one specifically because it was his inks over Paul Ryan, so had to get that one done. And then of course Ralph Macchio, one of the issues that he wrote of the Avengers, and then another issue he wrote of the Avengers, and this one here he even said that if you look at the old DC comics, this cover was a takeoff on an old DC Justice League of America, where the Justice League of America characters were in spheres, and so they just had it with there in cubes. Jan Durasma, she did this one, which was the Avengers. You can see it right there. And of course, Mark Morales with Avengers Finale. And then, of course, New Avengers issue 2, and he wrote it in white, and he used one of the paint pen, so I had to make sure that was dried before we put it back in the container. Then we have Tom Rainey with Avengers Academy. Now, we all remember this one from day 10 of Signed Comics of 2025. Well, Mark Bagley has joined the team, so of everybody like Mark McKenna, Dave Sharp, Bob Sharon, Mark Bagley, Terry Kavanaugh, Patrick Olive, and Tom Smith. So Mark Bagley, he joined the team. And of course, Bud LaRosa, he did Cable issue 20. Jim Calafor, he did a couple issues of Exile, so he got them. I'll probably get Mark McKenna to sign these when I see him this fall at the Carlisle Con. So that one, and then this one, Mark McKenna's got to sign it, along with this one. So got a couple and this one here was a Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. Louise Simonson was the editor. Bob Sharp was the colorist. If John Byrne ever pulls himself out of the deep cave that he lives in, and he wants to do a show, this will definitely be one of those I'll be looking at to have him sign. Andy Smith, of course, Generation X. So, and then of course Tom Rainey did the cover for this Marvel Your Universe, and he just did the cover, but it was neat. It was a wraparound cover, so had him sign it. Mutant X 2000, Colleen Doran. Colleen Doran said she did the best pencils of her life, and she made copies of the original pencils. So if you scour the internet, you'll find copies of these pencils. Andrew Pepoy, apparently he was using assistants, even though he says he wasn't. The inks in this are atrocious. Apparently she was so pissed off, she called the editor and she was livid. And she called out the inker and just basically ripped him a new one. And let's be honest, well deserved. Then of course here we got Mutant X number 2, signed by Tom Rainey. May probably have Pepoy sign this one at Baltimore if he's there. Kim DeMolder, Agent Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., issue 5 and issue 6. Then, of course, we get into the official handbook of the Ultimate Marvel Universe, signed by Tom Rainey. They used 2 of his images in this. This is one of those that if I get it or have the opportunity to get someone who their spot illustrations are in it and have the opportunity, and most of the time if they're not charging for a signature, I'll get it. Nice. This is one of those books would be nice to have a nice signature jam on. Okay. Mark Bagley was dumbfounded when he showed him, and this was the first book I had him sign. And he's like, wow. He goes, this, again, he was like, I haven't seen one of these in such a long time. He even actually was flipping through and goes, did I even do work on this? And I go, yeah, you did the backup story. So he flipped it back and goes, yeah, that's, oh God, this is horrible artwork. I can't believe it. He goes, I can't believe I got the job to do this book. And I said, hey, you're good enough to get the job, which got you good enough to get the next job. But yeah, he was done looking at this, and he just looks at it, and he when he's done signing, he holds it up, looks at it, he goes, thank you for the walk down memory lane. To which my response is, well, then you'll really enjoy this one. So he did not this one, along with Mark McKenna, Lee Weeks, and Chris Ivy. We now got Mark Bagley's signature on it. So all I need now really is for this one is Fabian. I gotta get Fabian to sign this one. And then I'll have like the whole team. Kim DeMolder did inks on one of the backup stories. Bob McLeod, he did the inks for this Sensational She-Hulk #1. This is one of those I'm definitely gonna need to set aside so that I can have John Workman sign it when I see him in Baltimore. Keith Williams. So this was a double-sized issue. So I was like, hey, Keith, sign it. He's like, okay. And then Chris Ivy, he did a one-page story in this. It was a backup story, so had him sign it. We wanted him to sign that one for a while. Bud LaRosa, he did these inks along with Keith Champagne to do this Wolverine issue. Then Bud LaRosa also, he did his inks over Jeff Johnson for this issue of Wonder Man. Then we have X Factor, annual #4. Walt Simonson had already signed it years ago, so I had Ralph Macchio sign it. Ralph did not do the story for the original story. He did it for a backup story. Pencils done by John Byrne, and it was Dr. Doom and Magneto. Very interesting story. Then we had Walt and Wheezy, along with Bob Wick, signed this issue of X Factor #15. And then, of course, I had Bob sign this issue of X Factor. So next time I see Walt and Wheezy, I'll definitely have them. Now, here's the special bonus for you guys. Okay? I went digging and I found these. And so I showed these to Walt and Wheezy. And when Walt saw this, he was like, oh my gosh. And he goes, wow. He goes, I haven't seen one of these in such a long time. And he even goes, he signs it, or no, I think before he even signed it, he holds it up and he shows it, and he goes, honey, look at this. Have you seen this in a while? And she looks up and she's like, oh my goodness. So because Walt was integral to this the Scott Summers, Jean Grey, Madeline Pryor story, I had him sign this one. But because Louise's hands were all over this the Inferno story, and she was integral with both these characters along with Magic, I had her sign it across both of them. So, and of course, you can't see it because of the light. So let me tilt it so you can see. So I have her sign it across those two. So all I got down now is I got to figure out who I'm going to sign this one. Then when I have all of them, then when I have a signature on each one, then what I'll do is I'll set them all in a frame side by side, and I'll mount and I'll have that framed. So I just got to figure out who I'm going to have. I don't know. I won't have to. Now, one thing that's nice is these across the back with New Mutants, X-Men, and X Factor, and those were the three main titles throughout the series. I have signatures I can look and see, or who artists that I can then decide who I want to get to do this last one. So it would be like, do I go with Louise again? Do I go with Chris Claremont? Do I go with Bob Wick? You get what I'm saying. So I don't know. We'll figure out what we're going to do. But it'll be a surprise. So, but yeah, I had so much. This was one of those where it's like, I wanted them to see it. And sure enough, just like Mark Bagley with that issue of Cyforce, with this, Walt and we were like, oh, wow, I haven't seen these in a long time. So I was like, yes, that's what I wanted. Because remember, when I get stuff signed, I got to go with what I like, not what has the potential to have value. So that's why I picked what I picked. So, guys, you all have a great day. You know I'm having a great day. And remember, life is stressful. Just take it all one dot at a time.